We've tried on the Sunday morning for the past few meetings to bring you, if you like, something different for a short presentation. And invariably, these things, I think, have been very welcomed by the members. And this morning, we're doing this with Youthwork Ireland. We had a most interesting meeting back in the Mansion House back in April, where Art and myself attended and sat in as they went about examining the terms of reference of our convention, but instead of taking 8 or 9 weekends, they were doing it in a day. And it was a most inspiring day, actually. And we always wanted to, in a sense, hear directly from them about their work and, about what they concluded, and just to hear them, because from the very beginning, we did stress that if you're looking at the Constitution for this country, you really should be listening to the voice of youth. So we're going to listen to the voice of youth this morning, and it is Erin Brightwood, Bertie Nariski, Joanna Świerska, and Joanna, I don't know whether I've got that right or not, but if I haven't, you'll correct me, and Robert O'Donnell. So in whichever order you wish to speak.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Świerska, and I'm a member of Voices of Youth, a youth advocacy group which is part of Youthwork Ireland. On behalf of myself and my friends, I would like to thank the convention for having us here. In particular, I would like to thank Tom Arnold and Art O'Leary for your support and keeping in touch and inviting us today. It's a real privilege for us to speak to the convention and to tell you about the work and the findings from our own Constitutional Convention for young people. When we first heard of the Constitutional Convention, we were very supportive of the idea. However, we knew that young people would not be represented as the members were chosen randomly from the electoral register, and this really disappointed us because we felt that it did not respect Article 12 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which states that young people should have a right to say in matters that affect them in accordance to their age and maturity. Well, we decided to host our own Constitutional Convention for young people, and it was held last April in the Mansion House in Dublin, and it was attended by over 60 young people from around the country. And I'll pass you on to my friend Erin, who'll tell you all about it.
Thank you, Joanna. We greatly admired the work and attempted to mirror the Constitutional Convention as closely as possible. Over 60 young people from across the country attended our event in the Mansion House. The attendants were briefed beforehand, and there was a Q&A session on the day with a panel of experts. On the day, we ran 8 workshops, each corresponding to one of the major issues you have been discussing. 4 were run during the morning session, and the other 4 were run during the afternoon. Young people could only attend 2 of these workshops, but through the use of comment boards, they had the opportunity to share their views on all 8 topics. These comment boards were brought into the workshops, and discussion was then carried out. Each workshop produced a statement representing their views on the issue. All attendees then voted on whether they were in favour of this statement or not. We were lucky to have Tom Arnold there to chair this vote for us. There was a 9th comment board on the day available all day long. On this board, young people stuck suggestions for other issues that were not discussed on the day. The aim of the comment board was similar to the work you are doing this weekend. I will hand you over to Bertie now to present our findings from the vote.
Hello, I'm Bertie Nizerki, and I'm here to talk to you about the findings of our Young Persons Constitutional Convention. As I read out these results, perhaps you'll notice a similarity between the results of our Young Persons Constitutional Convention and the findings of your own debates here. Firstly, on the review of the dual electoral system, we had 34 votes for and 6 against. For the reduction of the presidential term of office, we recorded 4 votes for and 42 votes against. To amend the clause on the role of women in the home and encourage greater participation of women in public life, we found 4 votes for and 42 votes against. To remove the offence of blasphemy from the Constitution, 25 votes for, 19 against. To increase the participation of women in politics by the means of quota or intervention, 18 votes for, 19 against. Whilst the majority agreed that women should play a greater role, it was also agreed that placing quotas was not the way to do this. Next, to give citizens resident outside of the state the right to vote in presidential elections, 28 votes for, 14 votes against. To provide for same-sex marriage, we found 45 votes for and only 1 against. Finally, to reduce the voting age to 16, we found 34 votes for and 11 votes against. On top of voting on these issues, the young people on the day also identified extra clauses which they felt a revision was needed. Robert will take you through these. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robert O'Donnell. And at the Young Persons Constitutional Convention, we gave young people the opportunity to give us ideas for amendments they'd like to see come up in a future convention or referendum. The suggestions that were voted through in the convention were as follows: that abortion be legalised and less restrictive, that the preamble is outdated and needs to be edited to remove all references to God, Jesus, and other Christian/religious allegiances, that education at primary, second, and third level be free, and the constitutional amendment be made to have free education, the law of the land, and become a reality, that the church and the state be separated, and that all references to religious allegiances be no longer in the Constitution, and that young people under 18 be consulted on further conventions and discussions. And I'll hand over to Joanna.
So, that's all that we had to share with you today. Thank you very much for listening, and once again, thank you to Tom Arnold and to Art O'Leary for having us. We also wanted to congratulate you all on your Trojan work over the last 13 months, and we hope to see more youth participation in these kinds of events in the future. Thank you.
What was most impressive about this day in the Mansion House wasn't just, it was the fact that they came together. They decided themselves to have this convention, but they got through it with great efficiency in the course of the day. And it was, just the sheer organizational skill involved in that. And obviously, I think Michael might have helped a little bit along the way in that, but it was very, very impressive. I should also say there was another initiative that was done in the early part of last year in Aon O'Riordan's constituency, where something called the Convention in the Classroom was held with, I think, 11 schools, and they also tried to mirror the work of the convention. And they brought their findings into a special meeting held in the Dáil for them, at which a number of the Oireachtas members presented, which was very good. Aon, do you want to say a brief word about that? I know you're not prepared for this, but I'm sure you're never struck for a word.
It was actually just, I think we don't listen to young people enough. And I went around schools in my own constituency and talked to transition year groups about all the issues that we're discussing here. And actually that's where I came across Joanna for the first time in Holy Faith, Colester. And I'm really proud that the first time I came across her was discussing the Constitution in her school, and then she's here addressing all of us at the Constitutional Convention. I'm really proud of her. It's really exciting that she's here, and I just want to especially acknowledge her presence. But it was interesting that what's being reflected here today by the young people is pretty much what I heard across every school I went to. A lot of them were divided on lowering the voting age to 16 because they didn't feel they knew enough about politics. But to be honest, I mean, in my experience, 16-year-olds know as much about politics as 26-year-olds or 36-year-olds or 46-year-olds or 66-year-olds. I think often people don't realise the power that they actually have. But I think all of us here would agree that if this is the future, then we're in very good hands.
Very good. Would anyone else like to comment? Because we have a few minutes. And particularly, I'd encourage comments from perhaps, let's call it, among the younger of us. But or I mean, I don't want to be ageist. Anyone can comment, but I mean, if there are some of our younger members, if they would wish to comment, let's say they'd be particularly welcome. So it's a question of self-identification. Who, Susan is describing herself as among the younger.
While the others think about what they might like to say, I just also wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for your work and for having the initiative to do it, and perhaps to reflect that I'm working on a project in a school in Tubbercurry in Sligo, where in the transition year we pulled together a group of students to set up what we think is the world's first website for politics for young people, because we took the view that there really isn't one. If you go looking, there isn't any website anywhere that talks about politics for young people in a way that young people might like. So they're doing the work themselves. We're offering mentoring and support for them, but they're coming up with the content, they're interviewing the politicians, they're finding out what politicians like and what they don't like, and they're trying to bring all that information, that content together with our support to try in another way to bring politics to a generation that, as you say and have you shown, are very often left out and ignored. And I took the view, having seen the CSPE book that children have at junior cert, that it's a good introduction, but it doesn't go far enough at all. And that, as Aon said, there are many, many young people who are really interested in what goes on in the world, but just can't, it's very hard to find a way in if it's all shrouded in political talk and political jargon. So we're trying to take the jargon away and make it easier. And certainly, perhaps we should have a conversation and see how we can include you in that project. Thank you again.
Thank you. Maybe there's a group among us who've been necessarily silent during the whole course of our work, but who've played, as was acknowledged last night, a crucial role, and they do happen to be slightly among the younger of us. Any of the facilitators or note takers want to make a comment? The younger. Yeah. Could we have the mic up here? One of our younger Oireachtas members.
Thanks, Tom. It's all relative in the Oireachtas, so I think on that basis alone, I fit into the younger cohort. I suppose I too just want to congratulate you on taking the initiative to organise a youth convention. I think it's really important. I think all politicians in making decisions should be more cognizant of the fact that we're making decisions that affect people of all age groups, not just those who vote. And I thought it was interesting that some of the results that you came, some were very similar to our own, and some were very different. And some of that emphasised that there are different social attitudes, different viewpoints on some of the kind of key and contentious social issues in the country, where there's a big difference between the views of younger people and the views of older generations. And I think, again, it's important that we make sure we're making decisions that we hear the voices of all that are affected. I wasn't sure if I picked up one of them wrong, or if what I heard was right, that on the amending the clause on women in the home. Yes, okay. So I'm interested in hearing the reasons for that, because the result that I heard called out was that just 4 people agreed with amending that clause and 42 were against amending it. And I suppose just wanted to...
Makes a bit more sense, yeah.
Yeah, just if you could tease out a little bit more on that, because obviously that was very different to our own conclusion. Thank you.
That was a mistake, I think that
was the opposite, was
yeah,
it?
that was a mistake.
Otherwise, I was very, very scared. Thank you.
There is one person in the room who has a particular, indeed, responsibility for young people, and it's Francis, who's as Minister for Children. And maybe, I know you've actually taken an interest in this as well, and you were from the beginning was saying to me that how important it was that young people somehow or other identified with the work of the convention. Anyway, reflections, please.
Thank you. Well, it's just great to see you here this morning, and thank you for the presentation. And I suppose what strikes me really is the importance of visibility. I think there's a huge amount going on all over the country with young people. An incredible amount of getting together, identifying local issues. Some young people are doing it through the Corlin and Oak in every county, and making recommendations of how things can get better in their own local areas. And there's a huge sort of groundswell of young people taking initiatives to deal with, with bullying, with homophobia, with all sorts of issues, and it's just so impressive. And I think sometimes it's hidden. Young people know what's happening, but it's kind of hidden perhaps to older generations. So I think this morning is very important symbolically in terms of that visibility and a real lesson. And there was some discussion at the beginning of the convention about how young people might be involved, and well done to Tom, because he took it up and made sure that we had today's event. And I think it's really important. And when we had the referendum last year, one of the points about the referendum was that the views of young people, that we would have it in our constitution. That's in particular circumstances, but I think it just needs wider applicability as well. So well done to all of you, and thank you, and well done to Tom and Art particularly for working through your involvement here and making sure it happened.
Thank you very much. We've a couple of minutes. Yeah, another young person. David, please.
I'd just like to thank and congratulate the young people there. I think they really highlighted how much young people have to contribute to Ireland and to politics. And I think it's just so important that the politicians listen, and that we give young people a voice, and that we listen. And I think what young people want from politicians is the kind of excellent politics we've seen here, with the politicians engaging so constructively. And I think really that the kind of politics we have seen during the boom and the bust, I just don't think young people are going to tolerate that kind of, I suppose, ignoring young people. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is that we need more of this, and we need more young people to be given a voice and listened to.
Thank you. We're coming close enough, I think, to get ready. I just want to check, are we close to having a finalised ballot, Art?
A couple of minutes for just translation.
A couple of minutes for translation, okay, fine. So, if that's the case, then probably a slightly earlier break for coffee wouldn't go amiss. And I want to thank you, the members of Youthwork Ireland, for your presence here today and for giving such a tremendous presentation. Thank you.